Good day. Cheerio.
You going to hell.
With the queen? Let's go turn off. I am Brandon. I'm not from Britain, but it's my accent.
I'm Tamia. Mia.
All right.
I don't have an accent. I can't fake it either.
Oh, no.
I feel like...
You gotta watch the Harry Potter movies.
I've watched all of them, and I feel like I just don't have it. I really want to, but like I feel like it just sounds so bad because I have such a country...
Oh,
like
yeah.
it sounds.
But you know, the British
ridiculous.
a lot of British actors can do American like very well. I mean, I know American is not.
I was like, but first of all, they get to pay people to help them with their speech and dialect and shit.
Okay,
I thought it was terrible.
I wasn't giving you red coat. Like I wasn't giving you that. Like,
hey, welcome to Bleducation.
Hey, all right, I'm Brandon, and this is all right, and. Obviously, today we are going to talk about our little friend across the pond. All right. We all know that Queen Lizzie,
kick the bucket.
She's gone. She dead. She dead. She is dead. Okay.
Dead.
And a glorious day it was on Twitter.
Great.
You know, a glorious few days. Actually, you know, I still am scrolling and finding
hilarious thing. And TikTok is like still funny.
I did not know that they really hated this lady like that. But let's go ahead and get right into it.
Okay, I'm gonna say, but let's preface this episode with obviously somebody dying is not a glorious event, but when you are attached to a monarchy that is known for being colonizers, racially oppressive, like there's just a lot of things that particular monarch has done to where nobody in that family can get celebration for me. I don't care what the fuck they do. Like at the end of the day, y'all are tied to a history that is literally detrimental to people's lives. So I want to put that out in the universe before we really like dive into this, because I know a lot of people are like, well, somebody died, da, da, da. At the end of the day,
she was 96 years old. She lived a full life.
It was her time to go.
It was her time. It was her time.
It is what it is.
Listen, she gets nothing from me. After they did, Harry and Meghan did the interview.
Yeah.
And the palace was worried about whether that child was going to be dark. And
that was wild.
They get nothing from me.
That was
all
wild.
Right. As Irish Twitter said, Lizzie's in a box, okay? Like, they did the chant. In a box! Lizzie's in a box! In a box! Lizzie's in a box! So let's go ahead and get right into Queen Elizabeth. So I'm kind of actually conflicted about this because, like, yeah, the racism, but like the historian in me, like, as soon as she died, I was just like,
dude,
I was so excited. Like, I think that I did. No, you texted me.
Yeah, I texted you.
I think I was literally teaching in class, and I said, oh, I was like. She died. I was like, oh, literally, because so many things happened, and like, oh.
I was actually in a meeting when I found out, and my little cousin texted me because she knows I'm such a history buff, like I'm such a nerd, whatever. And she texted me, and she was like, "Oh my God, Queen Elizabeth's dead." And I was actually with our DOA on campus, and her husband is a historian as well. And so I was literally like, "Call Ryan right now and tell him the news." Like, oh my God, because I was literally so. Not necessarily excited, but like I was so excited because there's so many things that have to be put in place now that they are about to introduce somebody new to the crown, and like there's just like they have to change their money. There are so many different things. Like there's just and then the transition from a woman to a man, like a queen to a king. Like I was just so excited to like see all the things happen. I literally did not stop talking about it for like an hour, and I know everybody at work was like, "Please shut the fuck up."
No, like it. Like let's get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Queen Elizabeth. So she's born in 1926.
26.
Yeah. So she is actually not supposed to be in the monarchy, actually, because what actually happens is when we look at the monarchy in the line of succession, so her father, his name was Albert, and Albert is actually the second son, right? So, but he is actually not supposed to be king either. His older brother, Edward, was supposed to be king, but Edward fell in love, right, with this woman named Wallis Simpson, and so upon the death of King George, dies in 1936. This is going to be the king who takes England through World War One. He is also the one that we did a previous episode about the Russian imperial family, and he's the one. George is the one that looks exactly like. Tsar Nicholas.
The picture,
they look exactly alike. So George dies in 1936. Okay, and he also is the one that takes over right after Queen Victoria, from which we have the Victorian era, where she ruled for like hundreds of years. Not really hundreds, but she ruled for a long ass time. So we have Queen Victoria, and then it goes to George. He rules from no, I think I'm skipping somebody. Somebody is in between Victoria and George, because George comes in 1910, and
you're so good with dates. It's
from 1910.
Scary.
So he's going to rule from 1910 until 1936. He dies because he smokes a lot, and so he's going to get like lung cancer or something like that. There is actually conspiracy sidebar. There's actually a conspiracy theory. So his physician is actually who killed him, because they mixed cocaine and morphine together in an effort to.
They were trying to take that nigga the fuck out.
Yeah, well, it actually hastened his death. So, anyways, he dies in 1936. So Edward is his son and he becomes king. So here's the thing, though. Edward is in love with this woman named Wallis Simpson, something like that. But anyway, she is an American socialite. She is twice divorced. All right, already. So I don't know. I think she was the problem. But anyways, she is twice divorced, and so according to British policy, as the king, like, she's not a suitable match. Like, so especially because they have a law that says, like, now you can marry someone if they're divorced, as long as that person that they are divorced from is dead. But both of her exes are very much so alive and thriving.
LOL.
So so
that feels like a foolish rule, also, but like, it's a monarchy.
So she like, he chose love. He was in love with this woman, and so he was just like, I'm actually going to go ahead and I quit.
Respect.
I quit. Maybe he was like a millennial before his time,
right?
They
had to be, because
or Gen Z rather, because they be quitting.
They don't give a fuck.
So he actually is going to abdicate or renounce his titles. And so when you're renouncing too, it's not just like, I'm renouncing for me, I'm also renouncing for any descendants that I have.
Your whole lineage.
So your whole lineage. So,
but I don't know how I would feel if I was like in line to be a prince and then become king, and my daddy's just like, love.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have kids at the time, so actually, I don't know if they ever did have kids. I'm not sure. I have to look that up.
Well, that nipped that in the bud.
But anyways, so 1936 occurs, and in 1936 is when George dies, and then so his son becomes king, but also is king for like less than a year, and before he decides, like, well, if I can't marry this woman, if you're not going to allow me to marry this woman, then I'm out. Because also, as the king, he is the figurehead for the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
And so, they have rules about divorce, and like, it wasn't it. So, anyways, he leaves, and so the crown passes on to his younger brother, who is his real name is Albert, but he is christened as George, King George. And so King George is going to rule from 1936 until he dies in, I believe, 1952.
Yep,
he dies.
That's when she takes the crown.
Because he has also is a heavy smoker, and he has I don't understand. He's also a heavy smoker, so he's going to actually die from lung cancer in his sleep. What's crazy is that Elizabeth is already kind of starting to step into the role as his health is declining. So she's becoming more of a figurehead, and you're gonna also see that like in not present day, but you also saw that with Charles, where he kind of stepped into these roles more as her health was declining when she was becoming old and decrepit. Anyways, Queen Elizabeth, she is, she was princess at the time, I suppose. Yeah. She is on tour, living her best life in Africa during the time she is, I want to say she's in Kenya, during the time where she actually finds out that her father has passed away. And it's actually a crisis that is occurring too, because BBC and like everybody else like already knew about it, and like so there was this big controversy saying like no, all members of the royal family have to be notified before like we break this as news, and they're like. This is a big story.
We already found out.
Actually, yeah. So actually, her husband Philip is actually going to be the one to break the news to her as well. So she marries Philip. I want to say in 1947. They already have a couple of kids before she actually takes the crown.
I would like to point out that that was her cousin.
Yeah, they was all married too, and actually, most of the Phillips family it was not invited to the wedding because
it seems ironic to me because they related.
Well, actually, he comes from German. He comes from like a German background, and so I want to say he had 3 sisters, and all of them were married to Nazis. So that's why. And so this is also they're getting married in 1947, and so this is like right after. This is right after World War II. So like, so his family. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, so his family was actually a lot of his family was not actually invited to the wedding.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I was about to talk a lot of shit, but fair enough.
So they're not invited to the wedding. Also, if we want to talk about going back to Wallace and Edward, like they were also Nazi sympathizers too. So Elizabeth is actually going to have a whole lot to deal with as far as controversy and scandal, and being loosely attached to the Nazis based off of people in her in the royal family. So yeah,
which is ironic to me because she actually had a really great like public standing because during the time of the war she actually served in the women's army.
Yes.
And she was like, feet on the ground type of situation. And her dad was also incredibly involved. Like when they were being bombed and stuff, they actually stayed at the castle. He sent his daughters elsewhere, but like they stayed there the entire time. So that really did a lot to kind of like
boost the morale.
Right, boost morale. Yes. And like a lot of the people were like, man, if they're staying here with us, because like, they can escape if they choose to, but a lot of the people couldn't. So like that actually did a lot for their like, public perception and things like that. And then also you see a really big kind of like push for support for her because she's the first first televised coronation in 1953. So like
there's a sense of connection,
right? And also like you can see all these things happening. Like this beautiful woman is coming out because she's like 28 at the time. Like she's like incredibly young. She's beautiful, and like she's like looking gorgeous, and like a lot of people are able to see this and see the procession of it. So that draws a lot of connections within the eye of the public. So I feel like with her, she came in like a lot of stuff going on, but she also had a lot playing for her benefit, like to kind of get her to the point where like she had a lot of public support. So, and she was a woman, so I feel like that went a long way too.
Yes. But so she actually they actually pushed back her coronation too. So they pushed it back by I want to say, was it like about a year or something too? You also so you have the actual the Queen Mother passes away during and in time, so she does not actually get to see Elizabeth become.
And I was wondering because her coronation is until 1953, and it's normally like a very
fast thing,
right? So I was wondering why that was.
They're preparing for Charles.
Now, right? Yeah, so I was really wondering why it took so long. But
there was just controversy. Then also you have to understand too, like obviously Britain has like a monarchy system too, but they also still have a government that's headed by Parliament and the Prime Minister. So they are kind of like they typically work in tandem, but there's also sometimes where they kind of clash about things as well. But anyways, Sis finally becomes queen, and so she is going to be in charge of several different places. Obviously, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, areas in Africa, mainly South Africa, I believe it was.
Pakistan, and Sri Lanka.
Pull up in the Sri Lanka.
When she took over, there were only 7 countries. I believe now there's like 14 as they expanded out, and that's for a few different reasons. So like. The Irish, which we will talk about, actually like, I won't say right before she takes, probably like 20, 30 years before they actually lose, the Irish actually wage a war of independence and the crown loses. And so they actually lose 26 countries that were, or territories, I should say, that were attached to them.
Good.
Right, at that particular time, they're only able, I believe it's like 26 out of 32, so they come away with about 8, which are like combined and turned into Northern Ireland, which is why you see that divide with the Irish, where some of them are like super attached to the crown and the rest of them are like, man, fuck the crown. And that comes about because Britain actually had a soldier stationed in Ireland.
You know, it sounds familiar, called quartering.
Like, bro, the game plan does not change.
Yes.
The game plan don't change. So they actually had soldiers there, and Ireland was like, "Hey, get them niggas out of here. We do not want them in our space. Like, and we actually want to be independent too. So like, fuck y'all, get them out."
You would think Britain would learn from the 13 colonies,
but
you know, well,
did they? Fuck no.
No.
So they wage a war of independence, and they fucking win again, except for Northern Ireland, which is like it's like 4 different territories, countries, something, I don't know. Yeah. But like they're turned into Northern Ireland, and they are still loyal to the crown. But I think this is really interesting because Ireland actually does not become a part of the Commonwealth, which is basically a cohort of nations that kind of exist together equally, and they like, you know, discuss politics and things, or like general terms of peace and shit like that. They actually don't become a part of that because they're just like, man, fuck y'all. Like, we hate you niggas. Don't ever call us again. Get the fuck out of here. We'll beat y'all ass again if we have to.
Yes. And I would like to say too, with the Queen passing, so obviously social media was super, super crazy. Especially, and like, I mean, as a you know, dues paying member of Black Twitter, you know, I was, you know, just in my lane, but then I discovered Irish Twitter, and also Indian Twitter, bruh. And obviously these are these are obviously 2 places that are affected by Britain, and I thought that Black Twitter was bad, and I found a clip where it was announced that the Queen had passed away, and at a soccer match in Ireland, they created a chant when they were like, "Lizzie's in a box," and you know what?
It kind of slept.
It kind of.
We'll make sure we edit that in for y'all, because that was
like, I was just like. Yeah, like, listen, it was good. Like, we'll play the clip for you. Wildly disrespectful, but I love it. But I mean, is it really disrespect? Because because why did you have all their jewels? Why you got all their jewels?
And you know what? My thing is always like, you know, you had to be terrible if they're still holding a grudge. Their independence movement was 1919 to 1921. It is currently the year 2022. What did you do to them people?
Lots. They stole all their jewels.
Be for real.
But I mean, obviously, Elizabeth herself, like, she's not the one that's saying
and she's not the sole,
but she's complacent in all of these things that are occurring, you know. But anyways, to get back more into Lizzie, she's also going to hold the record for being the longest serving British monarch, and she missed it by she missed longest serving monarch, I want to say, by like a year and some change. I think Louis the 14th had 72 years, and I think she had like 70.
And she was the longest standing queen though.
Yeah, definitely the longest standing queen. So she's been through. Think about all the prime ministers that she's been through, all the changes, like, just from
she ruled for fucking ever, bro.
Yeah,
like quite literally fucking ever. Like,
this was literally ancient.
Like, what was it? She just missed 70 years.
No, she hit 70.
Did she hit 70?
She hit 70.
So she was shy of.
She was like, I think I want to say that it was actually 70 years and 214 days.
Fuck. Because I'm like, I can see, because it's 52 to 22.
Yeah,
so I'm just like,
70 years and 214 days that she
was
on the.
My biggest beef with the crown, just in general, is that, like, they would stay silent about certain shit and then just not acknowledge it. So, like, when I was, like, reading up and doing research about this particular episode, like, obviously I knew about, like, Queen Elizabeth I, like, her role in the African slave trade. Like, she donated ships and money, and then they, like, turned around and denied all the claims about it, saying that, like, that wasn't true, even though, like, it's literally documented that she did the things. And there's, like, one conqueror that, like, would bring her slaves and, like, show off the amount of slaves that he had. Like, I think the highest number he ever showed to her was like 300, and, like, she'd be incredibly impressed.
Spanish Armada, her?
Yes.
Okay.
So, like, literally, like, but when the claims came out, like, obviously in modern day times, they, like, came out and denied it and said it wasn't true. And it's like, y'all. We all, and also just based on like the timeline of things. Of course, it's fucking true. Like,
Yes.
be for real. Like, we're not about to sit up here and act like they were martyrs for equality. Like, be fucking for real. Like, you know. And then like I was reading about how they went and like traveled and saw the world, and how like Prince Philip would like say terrible comments, and like he asked like some
First of
natives of
all,
Australia, do they still throw spears? Like, bitch, you lucky they didn't punch you in your shit.
Crypt Keeper. First of all,
That
so did you actually know? Speaking of the Crypt Keeper, Prince, because you know he died when he was 99, and like even though
that nigga looked
he
dead.
looked like
I believe he had been dead.
he looked like the little worm from SpongeBob.
Oh yeah,
like he looked bad.
Yeah,
Bro looked bad. But anyways, so did you know that like he was not like basically this whole time he's been chilling like in like a like
yes, because he's not allowed to be buried yet.
he's not allowed to be buried until the queen dies.
Oh my god,
so
that
he died. So he
like,
died last year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But like my thing was like, what if it had been another 15 years?
Well, I mean, he would have just been sitting there until like so. He is now able to be transferred, like, to so, and I have to imagine like, and the Crown I think does a really good job of portraying this, like the resentment that he kind of faces being like in the shadow of like his wife because he is a husband, and yes, like he is technically supposed to be the head of the household, but she's the queen, and so she like the crown comes first, you know. And just with Elizabeth in general, like with her family life, she doesn't like have like as close a relationship with members in her immediate family. Like her sister. One of the first things that we have to discuss with Princess Margaret rather is that Princess Margaret wants to marry this man named Peter, who is like first of all was married and then got a divorce and stuff like that, and they were in love, and you know, Queen Elizabeth tells her sister like pretty much like, oh, like give me like a year and like to kind of smooth things over, and then like I'll see what we can do about you marrying this man, like if you really love him. And like she basically pushes this back like several times, and then eventually tells her like, well, you can't marry him. And so it's just like really fucked up, like that. Like she's treating her sister like this. There are also times where she pulls her queen card on her husband and is like, actually, like you're not going to do that. Then
I probably would too, though. No
yeah,
cap.
I mean, yeah. And then so she has 4 children. So she has Charles, who is currently the king now. She has Anne, Andrew, who is Andrew the one that was weird and had a scandal.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And then she has Edward as well.
Andrew's mad weird. Like it's like concerning weird. Like not like, oh, that's your prerogative weird. It's like go to jail weird.
Yeah, maybe, you know, but white people privilege, you know, those things happen. But anyways, Charles does not enjoy a warm relationship with his father or with his mother, really. He as the firstborn, they are very strict and harsh on him in his upbringing. He is not really allowed to be. He's not really allowed to be like himself, and then that's going to be seen in his marriage to Diana, who we all love, and who
adored,
and who Queen Elizabeth got killed. But we'll get into that in a second. But you know, he that translates. So I know that we're talking about Queen Elizabeth this episode, but just really the royal family in general.
Yeah, honestly.
With Princess Diana, you know, Queen Elizabeth and her, they are said publicly to have enjoyed like, you know, a good warm relationship, but behind closed doors, the Queen really opposed a lot of things that Diana did.
It's crazy. She was so fucking cool.
She was so cool, and the fashions.
Sis, we just need fucking step. Let's talk about the black dress.
Like, iconic.
I don't even like white women like that. But let's talk about the black dress.
An icon for me. Like
sis fucking stepped.
Like every time there was not a miss. There was not a miss.
Every time.
Maybe that's why Queen Elizabeth was upset.
Yeah, she's probably a fucking hater.
Yeah, but anyway,
because that was a baddie.
But Princess Diana, you know, she just like really stepped into her role. She was really loved by the people. She was really big on philanthropy. There we go. That word beats my ass sometimes. But especially in the 80s, because you have the HIV and AIDS pandemic occurring, where a lot of people do not have a lot of information about how this disease is spread, and so she wants to go out there and raise awareness and show that that these are still people, and the Crown is against it.
Of course they are.
Queen Elizabeth says that is not a suitable thing for you to go do. As the Princess of Wales, you cannot do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, wow. Like, that's really wild and crazy. And I love that Diana is pretty much like, fuck you, I'm going to go do this anyway. And, let's also add in, I'm going to go talk to people of leprosy as well, too.
Yeah.
And show you guys that these are real people. So you do have a clash with that. You also have Charles, who obviously has grown up to be an incredible asshole at this point in time based off of, his relationship with his parents. And Charles is obviously going to take his mistress, who is going to be Camilla, and Diana. It gets bad for Charles and Diana, and they eventually divorce. But because she is still associated with the crown and with the royal family, and also because she has had 2 children, which are obviously William and Harry, she is still attached to the royal crown. So she eventually, obviously, starts dating someone who is not white, and
period.
She ends up getting killed in this car crash.
Yeah.
You cannot convince me that the Queen didn't orchestrate that and say hey, this is what's going to happen.
I feel like a lot of people feel that way. The connections a lot of people have with Princess Diana is actually insane. The amount of support and just love and admiration people have for her, which is, I think, truthfully, I'm no bullshit, with all the things that the Crown has done, I can understand the hatred, but I really genuinely feel like that is one of the biggest reasons that a lot of Americans do not like Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, that's the reason for me.
Yeah, I truly, because a lot of even when you look at the tweets and stuff like that, it was really less about them being colonized. A lot of it was about things that related to Princess Diana. It's she's in heaven and laughing at you in hell. That literally was the theme of a lot of the shit. So I truly, truly believe that plays a really big part. And then also, the things going on with Harry and Meghan, with the Oprah interview that came out, and them talking about the fact that they really had an issue with the complexion
and
of the baby.
And they are literally still finding a reason to drag Meghan now that she is back here for they do not learn. They do not learn. No.
And I just feel at that point, especially because they have renounced the crown, they they have decided that that's not going to be a part of their lives anymore. It's just leave the people alone. Quite literally leave them the fuck alone. Yes. I genuinely feel racism is just insane. But
but the way that Charles is looking, I don't know. I don't feel he ain't gonna be there that long. He definitely ain't gonna be there in 70 years.
Because
I have to agree with you. Yeah, have you seen his hands too? His hands are really swollen, and I don't know. That's a telltale sign of what's a congestive heart failure. So I don't know. There's also this theory that's on Twitter that came out last year that said that Queen Elizabeth was going to die on this particular day, and she did. And it also says that Charles was going to die on a particular day in 2026. We're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. I have no idea. It's crazy. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah.
I don't want to wrap up just yet, because I would be remiss if we did not talk about India and their relationship with the crown. And, truthfully, not a lot to detail here, but I did want to, discuss the impact that India's fight for independence kind of had on a lot of other countries' fight for independence. So what we see happen is, Gandhi in the 1960s is going to pop up, and he's going to be actually, we don't like y'all, and we don't want to be a part of this stuff anymore. So as we know, Mahatma Gandhi, he does his nonviolent protest, right? And he has his qualms. We will not go there today.
Racist,
very racist, and pedophile a little bit. So but we're not talking about that today. But he takes his dedicates himself to nonviolence. He does starvation and fast to kind of push this agenda. I could never. I love food too much.
I will protest, but if you
I have to eat. I'm literally hungry right now. So, but anyway, so he is a big part of why we see India actually gain their independence, and also his practices influence a lot of other people to decide to kind of rebel against the crown, and that's like starts the 1960s. So we're going to see a lot of people around that time kind of be like, actually, fuck y'all. If Gandhi could do it without fighting, so can we. So they started declaring their independence, or at least attempting to. That's a huge thing that happens, even though India does decide to join their Commonwealth, which I talked about earlier. So they are still connected to the crown, as opposed to other places. But that's also why India, a lot of people that live in India, people that are from there have, lineage there, have opposition to the crown as well, because like they also had the like troubled past. So I feel like India and Ireland were really like, yeah, she's dead. That's great for us. Love that. So I feel like that was another thing to kind of like point out, to just give perspective to why like so many people kind of have
and
that
give
opposition.
them countries back their jewelry.
Yeah, give them their fucking things.
Give it back,
you assholes.
Give it back right now. Right now.
And y'all have enough. Like that really be my issue. Right. But also, you know what I was thinking about though? If they start giving people their things back, then they would have nothing because they stole everything. So
very Killmonger and Owen took the things back.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
love it. All right, well, that is going to wrap up an episode of Bleducation. Hopefully, you guys learned something about Queen Elizabeth and her
which
family.
abolish all monarchies. Like, be fucking for real. It's 2022.
Yeah,
be fucking for real.
We don't need them. Yep. But I am Brando.
I'm Mia,
and we will catch you guys next time.
Peace.
What up, what up? It's your boy, Brando from the Bando. Actually, I'm from the suburbs, not the Bando, but that's okay. I'm here to say thanks for watching the Polaris Network on YouTube. For exclusive shows and premium content, subscribe to the Polaris Network on YouTube right now. Seriously, what are you doing? Go subscribe. Go do it right now.